All right, let's go to Nancy in Birmingham. What's up, Nancy?
Hi, Dr. John. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Of course. What's happening?
I guess I'll just dive right in.
Yeah, jump in, and then I'll steer us where we need to go.
Okay. I need to go back to therapy.
Okay.
But I am absolutely petrified because my first experience with therapy was about 20 years ago and involved a 4-year sexual relationship with my therapist.
Okay. Why does that petrify you in the future?
I have been very, very careful. Have a history of childhood sexual abuse.
Okay.
And I'm just very, very careful.
Okay.
And my bigger issue, I also don't trust women, so that makes it even harder.
Why don't you trust women?
I have 4 older sisters.
Okay.
The oldest one is 11. I mean, the one closest to me is 11 years older than me. And I was the surprise. My mother and father were greatest generation parents and were busy doing their own thing. And I kind of was ignored and left to my own devices, and no one paid much attention to the fact that there was clearly something wrong.
You're struggling. How old are you now?
I'm 55.
55. What takes you back to counseling nowadays?
My son was in an accident, a head-on collision, his freshman year of college, and was a Glasgow 3 severe brain injury coming in. And I have been his primary caregiver for the last 7-8 years. We just finished our 11th brain surgery, and I've hit burnout. I can't even put my foot on the floor. And I'm also going back to what I know are negative coping skills, disassociating, cutting, just things I had really managed to quit.
Okay. You've had a really rough go of it, huh?
Yeah.
Can I just tell you I'm sorry?
Thanks.
I know you know this, but I'm just going to say it out loud. That shouldn't have happened to you when you were a kid. Nobody should have abused you. Nobody should have taken advantage of your body. Your mom and dad should have seen that they had a hurting little girl. Your sisters should have seen they had a hurting little sister. And somebody should have stepped in on behalf of that little girl.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mention the abuser was my brother-in-law.
Okay. Oh, man. Makes it even worse, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm also sorry that you went and sat down with somebody who is a trained professional and you said, here's how I'm hurting, and they took advantage of you for 4 years. And for people listening to this, yes, it takes 2 to tango. Yes, it takes 2 to have sex with each other and all that. But it's the height of unethical professional practice for a counselor to engage in any sort of sexual relationship with their clients, period. Because people come in and there's a very emotional intimacy that happens in a counseling setting. There's a very intimate setting. And man, you can take advantage of somebody. And that's what was done to you, Nancy. And so on behalf of counselors everywhere, I'm sorry that somebody took advantage of you and treated you that way. They shouldn't have done that.
Thanks.
And that brings us to right this second. Okay. Let me say this. I'm also sorry, man. My best friend on the planet, my oldest best friend, is a traumatic brain survivor, still a paraplegic, is never going to be able to get up and run around and be goofy like we used to be, and struggles just to do basic life things. And his mom is a saint and someone who I love deeply. His brother is one of my oldest, closest friends on the planet. And I spoke at his dad's funeral, very close to me. And I also know what kind of trauma that ricochets through an entire family. So I'm sorry about your little boy. Okay. You're 55, which means you're a little more than halfway done.
Right.
Right? Statistically speaking. The question you have to ask yourself is this going to be Nancy's story? Or are you interested in changing everything? Not undoing what has happened. The abuse will always be there. It happened. The therapist that took advantage of you will always be there. Your son's going to need care. But I'm talking about looking forward and writing something new and building something that hasn't existed before. It sounds like in a pretty dysfunctional family system that you can take the back half of your life and sleep for the first time in a long time and laugh for the first time in a long time. And not only put your feet on the floor, but go move around and hike and go for walks and get childcare and get the job that you see what I'm saying? I'm talking about building a whole new life. Are you interested in that?
Yes.
Okay. Because what it's going to take to do that is you choosing to do the work and not carry that stuff from the past anymore. The things that were done to you, we have to set the bricks down and start doing things to our lives moving forward. And that's really heavy lifting. Are you in for that? Because you've been surviving for 45 years, right?
Right. I mean, yes. I tried going back to therapy once with the female, and I could just feel, one, I made her change chairs with me so I could sit closest to the door.
Okay.
And when I told her what had happened with the other therapist, her first question was, "Are you sure you didn't misconstrue what was going on?" And I got up and walked out.
Good for you. Good for you. See, you got some strength in there, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I mean, I quit my job and I was the top producer for the largest company in our industry.
Yeah. No, you're an old, tough gangster, Nancy. And what you've been doing is using that strength and that energy to survive and to defend yourself from threats that were there in the past that are no longer pressing on you, but they're still pressing on you. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if you take that energy and stop fighting old demons that don't have any gas left in them and use that energy to start building something, now you're talking about total life transformation. And by the way, I saw my mom do it in her 50s and 60s, and now she's into her 70s. She just called yesterday and said she's going to spend next summer as a professor at Oxford. And like, she's just living this crazy second half of her life. And you can too, if you're all in.
Yeah, but I got to figure out how to make that first step.
You do. No, hold on. Back up. There's no figuring out. One of the things that's important to know about our feelings is that they are alarms, they're signals, they're important, and they lie to us. Because our feelings have one job, and that's to keep us alive. And so there's no figuring out how to take the next step. You just take the next step. So what does that mean? As soon as we get off this phone call, you call a local counselor in your area. And there's a bunch of good ones in Birmingham. And you don't lose sleep over a female counselor. Call a male counselor. and tell them 20 years ago, I went and saw a male counselor and they took advantage of me sexually. That cannot happen again. And if they're a good counselor, they'll say, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm grateful for you. That will not happen here in my office. This is a safe place. And then you are going to have to make a choice because your body's going to start setting the alarms off. We're getting close. And you're going to have to say, nope, I'm going to sit through this one. I'm going to push through the other side of this healing. Are you into that?
Yes. I just also know I'm really hypervigilant.
Exactly. Here's a way to diffuse the hypervigilance. Call it out. Even if you have to write down on a piece of paper, I was sexually abused by a therapist. I'm very hypervigilant. I've got sexual abuse in my past. I got a kid with a traumatic brain injury that I'm a primary caretaker for, and I'm 55 and I'm freaking exhausted, and I want to live a life of joy with the time I got left. Write that down and take that on a piece of paper and read it to the therapist. That would be a gift to any therapist. It'd be a gift because I'm taking the air out of the hypervigilance. Hypervigilance works in the shadows, right? It lurks behind the facts and behind the data and behind our lives and just keeps us revved up for a fight that's probably never going to come. Right? So I'm just going to turn all the lights on. I'm going to turn all the lights on. Yep, I'm super hypervigilant right now. It kind of takes it's like if a bunch of Navy SEALs were coming into your house and you flipped all the lights on, you're like, I see all the SEALs. I'm not fighting you and you can just arrest me. In fact, I've handcuffed myself, right? It's kind of like, okay, right? I'm just going to take all the hypervigilance away. I'm just going to make the move. I'm going to go for it. So there's no figuring out the next step. It's just making the call and going. And then for you, it's going to be important is to go the second time and to go the third time and to go the fourth time. Hear me very clearly, Nancy. There is no path forward that's going to be comfortable because your body's going to fight you every step of the way as you head on into this new path because it wants to keep you safe. And right now, what used to keep you safe is now keeping you underwater, and your body is saying, we're out. We're checking out. So these feelings, this hypervigilance, this alertness that's been running the show for so long has pushed your body to a breaking point. And it's time for the thinking part of your brain, the rational part, the fact part, wait a minute, I'm freaking Nancy and I'm a baller. I am getting back in the driver's seat. Thank you for driving for the last 45 years, feelings and thoughts. I'm grateful for you and hypervigilance. You kept me alive. Good call. Now I'm going to have some joy in my life and I'm going to heal. I'm going to quit carrying around this stuff from 20 years ago and 30 years ago and 40 years ago. I'm going to do something different. Expect discomfort. Expect it. Kind of like opening the oven and sticking your hand in. It's warm, it's hot, and you got to be very careful, but you pull out a plate of cookies, man. It's so good. You got to deal with the heat to get those out. Or you got to put your hand in that freezing cold freezer to get the ice cream out. It's just part of it. It's good stuff. Hang on the line. I'm going to send you a copy of Own Your Past, Change Your Future, my latest book. I want you to read it cover to cover, and I want you to take it with you to therapy. Take it with you to your counselor and say, hey, I've read this book, and I want to take ownership of some of these things. I'm going to start slowly shifting my thoughts and actions, and let's go make this thing happen. I can't tell you how proud of you I am, Nancy. I'm so proud of you. 55. Enough is enough. And for you listening, you can be 65. You can be 25. You can be 36. You can be any age. The day you say enough's enough is the day that everything can be different. Nancy, keep us notified. Let us know how this thing's going. Can't wait to hear how your story unfolds.